Welcome to the RTM show. Here we discuss the reality of things versus how they are perceived. On this episode, we would focus on the university degree and the real world. My neighbor, Mr. Ade, hates me now, though we're best of friends just a few months ago. Do you know what happened? I told him the truth. He came over to my house one Saturday evening, beaming with excitement. Jube, guess what? What? Fola just got admission into the university to read electrical engineering. The young lad is studious, you know. In about 5 years, I should have a graduate in the house. With this degree, I hope he can get a good paying job in an oil company. You hope, Ade. 10 years ago, you hoped for a good job after your MBA. But that has not happened yet. And you still hope Fola would do it. Why would you think his case would be different? Ade left in annoyance and he hasn't spoken to me since then. His behavior amazes me. All I asked for was what he planned to do differently. In fact, it amazes me how people want us to tell them the truth, but at times they find it hard to accept the same truth. For example, one truth is that not everyone who goes to university will graduate and get a good job. But I can bet that right now, lots of us are saying in our minds, I reject it in Jesus' name. I'm sure everyone is anxious to improve their circumstances. Everyone wants to have a way forward. In fact, we hope to get good jobs, we hope to live successful lives, and hey, we even hope to be rich. But I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that even though we must never lose hope, because to be without hope is being like without goals. We must remember, Aristotle said, youth is easily deceived because it is quick to hope. So while being hopeful is a good thing, when trying to find a way forward, hope is not the strategy. And today we're going to look at 3 reasons why I say hope is not the strategy. When hope is the strategy, we minimize the mistakes of the past. 2, when hope is our strategy, we ignore the present realities. And 3, when hope is our strategy, we lack a vision for the future. Now let us consider the first point. When hope is the strategy, we minimize the mistakes of the past. Ade, my neighbor, is a perfect example here. We can see how he ignored his own past experiences, still hoping that somehow his son would land that good job. But sadly, they may not be the only one with this kind of mindset. Our country was shocked on the 5th of November 2012 when an article came out in the Vanguard newspaper. According to that article, Dangote's company needed just 100 truck drivers. But what happened? They got 13,000 applications. And do you know how many of these 13,000 applicants are graduates? According to the article, about 8,460. At one time, they too hoped to get the good jobs. Hope was their strategy, and it failed them. But despite this shocking fact, millions more are following the same path, as can be seen from other articles in the newspapers. For example, this day, dated 7th of February 2018, 1.4 million students registered with JAMB for the UTME examinations. The Premium Times of February 28, 2019 says 1.8 million registered with JAMB for the UTME examinations. So even though the chances of getting a good paying job are getting slimmer by the day, lots of people are still having hope as their strategy. Now, not that I'm not saying we should not try to get a university degree. If we want to, we can. But what I'm saying is that the degree in itself is not a guarantee that we will move forward in life. The people who view the degree as a guarantee in life or a guarantee to success in life are not like Benson. Why? Because Benson chose to learn from the past. He too saw the article in 2012 and then chose not to live just by hoping to get a good job. So by the time he gained admission into the university in 2014, he had already found a way forward. He had learned photography, a skill he still uses today, while his mates are hoping to get a good paying job. You see, the mistake people make is that just because as children our bodies automatically grew and we just seem to be able to handle new challenges and do so many things easily, we expect that as adults we would still be able to do the same thing. But now as adults, we are no longer growing physically, but we still need to grow in other ways, emotionally, mentally, intellectually. And that doesn't just happen. We can't just improve just by living our lives. We must be intentional about it. If we want to improve our lives, or want our lives to improve, we must improve ourselves for ourselves. We must immediately come up with a plan on what we want to achieve and start following that plan. If we truly want to make something of ourselves, we must start right now. Now let's look at the second point. When hope is the strategy, we ignore the present realities. I love this quote from Byron Katie about reality. When you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. One of the reasons why I couldn't understand Ade's behavior is that at one point in time, we had discussed the present realities, and yet he was still using hope as his strategy. At that time, he talked about how terrible the economy was, how difficult it was to pay school fees, and then he mentioned people were losing jobs. In response, I said, Ade, the aims of the higher education in Nigeria as outlined by the Federal Ministry of Education in the National Policy of 2004, Section 8, Subsection 64, are that university education make optimum contribution to national development by intensifying and diversifying its product for development of high-level manpower within the context of the nation, making professional course content to reflect our national requirements. Do you think this is the present reality? I responded, no, my friend. The truth is that today, computer science students are taught low-level programming in C and assembly codes. But in the real world, they require jobs. Like, they require Python, they require JavaScript, they require things like that. Mathematical students are being taught partial equations, but in the real world, they require Google Analytics, SQL, and neural networks. No wonder we can see bankers who are not graduates of banking and finance. We can see farm managers who never read farm management. We see business administration graduates looking for jobs instead of running businesses. There's a disconnect between what is required in the industries and majority of what is being taught in schools. I agree. Another disconnect is the fact that examinations are still a test of memorization. If you asked me to draw the Krebs cycle back in school, I could do it perfectly in less than 5 minutes. But today, if you ask me to draw it, I would show you one in less than 1 minute. How? Google. We are just a Google query away from an answer. And so after this conversation with Ade, you can imagine why I was still amazed that he had hope as a strategy. But on the other hand, because Benson had lived intentionally, he could see the present realities and he did not argue with them. In 2016, when he was in 300 level, the students had a minor clash with the motorcycle rider popularly called Okada riders in our local parlance. When one of the students made a statement meant to demean these riders, the president of the association then made it clear beyond reasonable doubt that 60% of them were graduates and that he was a graduate of that very school. Imagine. After that, the students cooled temper. That is, they were humbled. So at this point in time, we would like to paint a picture together. We're not artists, but we would like to draw in our minds, not on a canvas. So right now in our minds, we can see Fola, that is Ade's son in school. His best friend is Damilola, who is also studying electrical engineering. They're studying hard together. When it's time for exams, they smash it. But once the semester is over, they must go their separate ways for at least the holidays. It is during these holidays that Damilola registers, not with JAM, but with an electrician. So during the semester, Damilola is an undergraduate, and during the holidays, he's an apprentice. Damilola knows what he wants. He knows his strengths and his weaknesses. So 5 years are over now. Damilola and Fola are now graduates, and they graduated with first class. NYC is here. Papa Sean. Now it's gone. No more pocket money, no more Alawi, no more ready money. Both of them must fend for themselves now. And so Fala picks up his certificate and he goes out looking for a job. He drops his CV, moving from company to company. Dami carries his tool bag, texts around for construction sites and tells them, I am an electrician. I have 5 years experience wiring houses. He drops his details, moving from one side to the other. At the end of the month, who can we see having some money to care for himself in our present realities? Fola or Damilola? Of course, Damilola. He did not take hope as the strategy, because doing so would mean ignoring the present realities. Like Benson, he knew nobody would ever give success to you. To achieve this, we must know ourselves. It means to do great things, to achieve those things we have in our minds, to reach any goals we want, we must become self-aware. So, do we know ourselves? Do we have a sense of direction? If money is not a problem and we have no limitations at all, what would we love to do? Why are we not doing that thing at present? Are we aware of the choices that will lead us to our destination and even those that will lead us in the other direction? To move forward, we must know where we are presently and where we want to go, because the present realities are that our academics alone cannot get us to our destination. Where we want to go is the future. So this brings us to our third point. When hope is a strategy, we lack a vision for the future. These days, when people think about the future, they are scared. Why? The world is changing so rapidly. And with this change, there's so much unpredictability. All sectors are being affected. The way we communicate is changing. The way we communicate has changed. We can chat with thousands of friends, thousands of kilometers away. We can send pictures, videos. People can sit down in their houses and generate income from legitimate online businesses. Technology is even affecting businesses and even the way we work. We know the recharge card business. Instead of buying physical recharge cards and scratching them now, we can log on to a mobile banking application and just recharge on our phones. That is not all that technology is doing. According to an analysis firm, Oxford Economics, up to 20 million manufacturing jobs could be replaced by robots by 2020. With this news, it is understandable that why people are scared of the future. But there's hope. Things are not or will not turn out as terrible as they sound. In fact, let me read something for you. It says that, in fact, according to the International Bar Association, they have a document called Artificial Intelligence and Robots and Their Impact on the Workplace. What they said is 1/3 of current jobs requiring a bachelor's degree can be performed by machines or intelligent software in the future. Individual jobs will disappear completely. That is true. But the document continues to say, owing to the great number of emerging multidisciplinary support alternatives due to AI and machines, the requirement for future employees will change. Employees must be able to not only coordinate with people, but also, if necessary, to lead them effectively and coordinate with them. In addition, creativity and flexibility are becoming increasingly important. In the future, critical and problem-oriented thinking will be expected of employees as the most important requirement. This requires sound judgment. The expectations with respect to availability will be higher for future employees. Employees are increasingly expected to have non-formal qualifications. This would include, for example, the ability to act independently, to build networks, and to organize themselves and their teams with a focus on to think abstractly. So it challenges us to think differently about what we can do now. The solution is self-leadership. Leaders are people who are strategic. When we develop strategies that will work, it could be by trial and error, but we'll keep moving forward. We could work to inspire, to gather a motivated team and make things happen. Since this is what the future needs, we should be ready, and we would be ready. So what plans do we have to do right now? Like Benson and Damilola, We need to develop a set of behavioral strategies that starts with self-awareness, so we can identify our strengths and weaknesses and then set realistic goals. Once we achieve a set of goals, we must reward ourselves so that we can stay motivated. This will help us to handle difficult tasks with joy. We also need to develop constructive thought patterns. And this will involve listening to what we tell ourselves, that is self-talk. It is possible with our minds will come up with excuses. I don't have time. I don't have the connections. I don't have the money to start. At times, it will be people who would help us come up with the excuses. You can't do that. You don't have the knowledge to do it. I tried it before. It cannot work. Our goal is to quickly try, fail quickly, and learn quickly. Once we find out what is working, that is the way forward. Then we don't just move forward, we run. That is the length of the RTM show for this week. In the meantime, drop your comments below. I hope you really enjoyed it. Join me next time, same time next week, for another topic on the reality of things versus how they are perceived. See you then.